People, Deluded, I'm back again. I hope you're all well and safe. Good morning to you guys. Regarding this video, I've went online just looking for Arsenal topics, or just as an Arsenal fan, just want to see Arsenal stuff. And we've heard a bit of this before in relation to Mertesacker, but I saw some comments resurface, or new comments surfacing, so I thought we might as well speak about them. In relation to Mertesacker, obviously he's head of youth development as well. He's previously been an FA Cup winner. You know what Mertesacker and Arsenal have done over the last few years, and who Mertesacker has been in that regards. But so long story short, listening to his words and whatnot, he does, and I can't really speak on things that I can't speak of with speaking to certain people, but what Mertesacker really is back in his chat, and he really is going above and beyond and doing things that are above his remit. And when you hear some of the things that I can't say, the first thing you think of is humility, really humility. It doesn't even matter if you're a good player. If you're not, he's really bringing that German sort of efficiency and culture to Arsenal. It don't matter how good you are, you need to be humble and that. And there's certain players that have felt victim to such already and had to tune things out. But let's not speak on stuff. He said, I want to, in relation to the players and their mindsets, I want to challenge them so that they are ready to take on new ideas when it comes to their body and soul. I want to convince them that they have to do something to get to the top of the world, and I want to be an example for them. You can tell Arsene Wenger's managed this guy, because this is, them speech sort of things. For me, there isn't really a way up, but somehow I made it there anyways, because I did everything I possibly could to give me the best chances to succeed. Talent is what you make of your situation. We've got some good ones coming through, no doubt about that, but you've got to keep nurturing them and bringing them forward. The club is in a very good position, and the manager is very good. He's a very real modern manager, and includes the whole club in what he wants to do, something you didn't hear from Emery. You've got to have talent first, but then you have to have opportunities. This manager will give those opportunities. Just look at the opportunities given already. When we look at the mission of the academy, which is to create the most challenging and most caring youth academy in the world, then you can see from a statement that we want to prepare them for life. And obviously, that's it. Arsenal is a team, winning through harmony, a touch of class. We do things differently, and being a good footballer is one thing. You need to be humble. You need to be a nice person, because it can all be lost in a day, in a second. And there's just no substitute for not being a nice person. In society, you lot know, ironically, the things that are free, many people find them too expensive. Basic manners, basic kindness, basic empathy, basic sympathy, and you lot know the rest. And this is all also relevant, especially sadly with the current things we're going through with the COVID-19 stuff as well, or COVID as I was calling it for a while. But yeah, we want to have the best academy and best things and whatnot. But we need to have good humans, and I do know for a fact there's a very aggressive recruitment drive from Arsenal, or trying to, because our teams have been below par, even below under 16s. I can't talk on them for certain things, but there's a drive in relation to the profile of players. I spoke to one agent. He was looking at under 14s, and he said there's some players here, but I can't believe that some of these guys play for Arsenal in the most humbling way. It is what it is in that regards. So this is something Mertesacker is trying to get at, because obviously our academy costs a couple of million to run. If you just progress one player to the first team and they're sold for a couple of million, it pays for itself. Maitland-Niles, who many people, I don't want it to be, but feel his days here are numbered. If you could get a 15, 20 million for him, technically, how long does that keep the academy going? Now, if we was to put the actual costs of Maitland-Niles against the profit made if he did go, or what will be going to Everton, it's not exactly 100%, because he's obviously had to pay coaches to train these guys week in, week out. They've obviously technically had kit, they've had to be travelled, they've had other things paid for and stuff, and wages, so it's not free, but you get one going. Even if one player progresses, you make 35 million on him, it's paid for itself. And first and foremost, and it's important to remember, we made a substantial amount of appearances here, so the first target is to obviously bring 3 players for the first team. If not, can they be sold on for profit? Can you get one going with that? So it's nice to hear that, people. He said, yeah, man, on one hand we want to be the best football academy, where we build players to play in the team, youngsters to play in the team, to play football, to play the game they love, but we want to do it. We want to teach them to do it with respect, discipline, and humility. And in these words, already are a lot of things that indicate we want to do it the right way. We speak about physical health, but the mental part of it plays a huge part in that as well. How do we interact with each other? How do we keep that open forum alive? How do we develop our players, our coaches, our staff, and raise awareness about how we talk to each other? We have a range of under 9s to under 23, but we can learn from each other. How can an under-9 learn from an under-23 in terms of his journey on the struggle and the adversity that will kick in? And they're 100% facts, people. Continuing with the academy theme, and one victim of the reshuffle was Bob Marrow. Those of you are old enough to remember, former Arsenal player, the Northern Irishman. He was at Arsenal for a number of years, obviously developed into what's the right word for it? What's the right word for important position? Let's just say important position, people. An important role. Obviously, with the reshuffle, he was kept moving. He's been linked with a move to Spurs. Now, for me, he should go and take that. And many people will look at it, or maybe even people at Spurs or Arsenal think, he shouldn't do that. First and foremost, he apparently could have got an FA job, but he needs to get a job. Like, I'm sure he wants to be back in football. Second of all, when I remove my bias, I've spent a lot of time seeing players on trial at Spurs and seeing my family members on trial at Spurs and watching Spurs youth games at a period. Their academy, they've got some good players. Their facilities are second to none. And I must admit, as much as I'm an Arsenal boy and I'm not saying I'm with that, it's hard not to be enticed with what Spurs are doing and their ethos and stuff, purely at youth level, people, purely. And as a North Londoner, they're in the nice part of Enfield where that thing is, but it's very easy to identify with Spurs, how they handle themselves in relation to the academy. So it's something that he should go at. Obviously, I don't know where he lives, but Arsenal and Spurs, or technically he was working at London Coley, so it might be a bit of a drive, but it's not the furthest, I assume, provided he lives in relative closeness in North London, or I don't know where he lives, but I'd imagine it's not the biggest of journeys if he was to do that. I think he should take it, really and truly. And obviously Spurs are being linked with it because Spurs have been losing a couple of great members of staff recently, but they've lost, can't remember his name, I think McDermott, he's gone to do his thing, technical director or something at the FA. So naturally they're looking for things, and football is a small world. I can guarantee somebody's probably phoned someone or sent a text to Marrow and said, are you interested? Or someone said, why not that Marrow guy? Do you get it, people? That's how small football is, really. He's readily available, and apparently Spurs want to exploit that. This is coming out of the papers, so I think he should do that. Obviously, ex-Arsenal man, I don't want to advocate to go to Spurs, but it is what it is, man. It's not that deep. Like, go and do your job, go and get paid, go and do something you love, and maybe Steve replied to my email and my letter that I sent you when you was at Arsenal, people. And that's why I will always rate Bob Arbour, who's left Arsenal and I believe is at Norwich. He is the only, I remember, and it's not a bitter thing because it's the game, innit, but I must have sent, I kid you not, about anything from 30, 40, maybe even 50 letters, emails, everything to scouts, anything, people, at all levels. The only one that replied and actually phoned me was Bob. And he offered me a lot of thoughts about several players, and it's funny how some of them, everything he said is kind of, especially in relation to someone like Daniel Crowley, has come into fruition. But, go and do your thing, Steve, if that's what you want to do. In relation to another Bob, not Arbour, Wilson, he's spoken. I don't know the context of where Bob Wilson, our former goalie, was speaking, but he's offered some points, people, and he said, as a former captain, first of all, he is one of the most natural leaders I've seen, speaking in relation to Arteta, people. He's hugely bright. Siri, I'm not talking to you. Why Siri? Why are you getting involved? He's hugely eloquent. You only have to listen to his interviews. The bottom line is he cannot do it alone. He needs the players and he needs a good coaching staff, which I think he's definitely getting together. The club, that is the board, and Stan Kroenke, the owner, have to give him the tools. That is now going to be even more difficult after the COVID-19. But personally, I have a huge belief that Arteta is the man and that he will be winning trophy. We will be winning trophies under him. And Bob said what I'm saying on YouTube, what you lot sitting in your rooms or whatever. No, Arteta we've got faith in Arteta. He will make mistakes. He will, he's not going to be perfect, but he's a manager we believe in. Believe, integrity, coaching players, putting belief in players. Some transparency for me anyways as a fan, because I'm seeing what he's saying in his press conferences and he's saying about training, and if I'm not seeing what he's trying to do initially, I'm seeing building blocks, or I'm seeing him back his chat up. So I've got faith in Arteta, but at the end of the day, he's not a miracle worker. He needs people above him to make the difference. He needs them. He needs to be helped with scouts to bring in players. He needs to be brought in with proper good coaches around him. He needs decent players, because he can only take this current collective bunch of players so far. And the intent to want to win, to want to be a winning club, to want to be that, has to come from Stan Kroenke and those just slightly below him, and filter down. Because Arteta, Arteta wants to win Premier League and all of these things, and he would love to be the man to turn Arsenal around, but he can't do it alone. And obviously with the COVID-19, Bob Wilson made a great point. We don't know how we're going to react. One hand, people could still spend big money. On the other hand, with TV rights not being there, well, TV money being lost and other things, you're hearing swap deals. You're hearing people might try and penny pinch. So it's a difficult one, to which the scouts, Arteta and everyone in the club have to collaborate a plan even better. And when you're hearing Arteta saying, I'm working on, we are working on 2 or 3 different scenarios to react to the summer window, that's promising to hear, people, in that regard. And he went on to speak about giving young players chances, in which Arteta's done it, and he's identified several players. He also had big praise for Martinelli. He said he's unbelievable with the positions he takes up. I've spoken to the technical director, Edu, obviously, about Martinelli, and he says that he sniffs chances. He's got that unbelievable ability, probably God-given, to sniff out chances. This is a kid still, and it's true, people. It's very true. It's 100% fact. I think when I see Aguero, I see Alexis, I see Martinelli, I think a bit of it can be taught, it can be honed and stuff. But I think with these South Americans, Suarez, I think they're born with that hunger to score goals, that natural movement. Like Martinelli, that's one thing I like about him. He's hungry. Like, you can tell he's not here to play games. Like, you can tell he's not here to. Other young players are here to ramp and play games. He's trying to be something special in his life, and I like that with him. So I share Wilson's praise of Martinelli, people. And he's obviously spoken in relation to having to move players on. He said, Arsenal, have got big decisions to make. There will be 1 or 2 who want to go, but they've just got to be sure that they keep the young ones who can be integrated in the same way as I remember in my time under Bertie Mee and Don Howe. Those kids come in and can be like a jigsaw puzzle, straight pieces and funny shaped pieces, but they blend. Mikel, if he gets it right, can do that, because I'm not sure how the transfer market is going to work with this financial situation. And that's true. Coaching is going to be a big part of it. Again, I won't name them, but I don't think certain Arsenal players young players are going to make it here. But I do think there's around, I think, excluding Martinelli because he's homegrown and Saka, I think there's 2, 3 are genuinely within the next 18 months or so will be in the first team picture. There's a bunch of others I think can do it. There's some that I just think have no chance, but my opinion does not matter. I am just a fan who watches youth talent when I can. I'm no Arsenal scout, I'm no Arsenal coach, I'm no Arsenal decision maker. So my opinion on these players or anything means nothing really beyond just it being a fan. But shout out to Bob for his comments, really and truly. And on that note, I've got nothing more to add, people. Have I got anything? He said, well, he more or less said if they let Martinelli go, it will come back to bite us as well. That would be the L. But on that note, there's nothing more to add, so I'm going to get out of here. People, it's always a pleasure. DG.